Trump announced a 25% tariff on EU cars, and this move could potentially wipe out the profits of BMW and Mercedes-Benz. So what's really going on here? In addition, the US announced it will withdraw 5,000 troops from Germany. Germany, obviously, responded by basically saying they don't really care about it. So what exactly is Germany facing next? Actually, it's a profound shift in the global landscape. Going forward, Germany is very likely to become what you might call a second Canada. Also, Iran has already put forward a new peace agreement, or rather a peace proposal to the United States. So they said they made significant concessions, but after Trump got it, he just turned around and tossed it in the trash, saying it was way off the mark. So what kind of new peace proposal is this? And why did Trump just turn around and throw it straight into the trash can? Also, Trump recently joked that the aircraft carrier withdrawn from Iran could just as easily wipe out Cuba. So what's really going on there? And then, regarding the rising oil and gas prices in the US, what solutions does the US government have for that? These are the topics we're bringing you today. Welcome to Listen and Watch. This is Feng Wei bringing you the Good Morning America show. Sorry, this Saturday morning edition. And good morning to those of you in the West as well. All right, so good day then. Good day, America. Hello to all our YouTube viewers and to the listeners of Sound of Hope, Silicon Valley FM 96.1. Sorry for being a bit late today. Okay, let's get straight to the point. The Pentagon announced on Friday that it will withdraw 5,000 troops from Germany, a NATO ally. The withdrawal will be completed within the next 6 to 12 months. Honestly, pulling troops out of Europe is a very expensive undertaking. It takes a lot of effort to get the military out. So basically, they're pulling out a brigade plus another army brigade, withdrawing them from Germany. And they're also overturning the Biden administration's 2024 decision at the NATO summit, which was held in Washington, to add another so-called conventional missile battalion in Germany. That plan has now been scrapped as well. So in Germany, where the US has its largest military base in Europe, there are about 35,000 active duty troops stationed. The US base in Germany is also an important training center. This troop withdrawal will bring the number of US troops stationed in Europe back to the level it was before Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. This decision was clearly triggered by German Chancellor Merkel, because a few days ago she told German media, when commenting on Trump's war with Iran, she criticized Trump, saying that Iran had brought shame to the American leadership. She also said she strongly disagreed with the war. These remarks made Trump very angry. Later, when reporters asked him whether Spain and Italy, besides Germany, would also face similar treatment and see US troop withdrawals, Trump said it was very possible. He said, "Why should I keep so many troops there?" He said Italy hasn't given the US any help either, and Spain has never really cooperated. Although this was triggered by Merkel, fundamentally, it doesn't really matter. Why? Because Trump has always wanted Europe to take responsibility for its own defense, right? Especially Germany. Trump believes you have enough financial resources and a strong enough industry to handle it yourself. Is that really the case? We'll talk about it in a bit. Previously, the Trump administration had already decided last year to withdraw a US Army combat brigade from Romania, another brigade. So what about Trump? Now, among the countries with the largest number of US troops stationed overseas, the top 4 are Japan and South Korea, Germany and Italy. So now, Germany and Italy are the ones most directly affected. Actually, I want to ask everyone, when the US stations troops in other countries, do you know which part of the costs the host countries cover? Do they pay for the expenses of the US military? Post-World War II, the US military fully funded operations abroad. Besides sending troops, they paid for everything, renting facilities, utilities like water and power, and even hiring local staff. The US military hires locals at their bases, and initially they paid for everything. Later, host countries began sharing costs like rent, utilities, and staff. Over time, these expenses were split. In this regard, Japan does it best. The costs are basically all covered, but costs aren't everything. The stationing of troops itself is still something that no country pays for. Not a single country pays for the troops themselves. They only cover the cost of hosting the troops. In other words, all the expenses for the salaries, equipment, and deployment of US troops stationed abroad, shouldn't those costs be covered by the host countries? But none of them pay for that. It's all borne by the US itself. Basically, the US is sending troops for free to provide defense for other countries. Well, it's been 80 years since World War II ended and 35 years since the end of the Cold War, yet the US is still doing this. Is that reasonable? It's like police officers being sent to a neighborhood to help watch over a few houses. Shouldn't you make it clear that they need to pay? Of course, if the houses are in the US, the homeowners don't pay directly. If there's really a need, but police are funded by taxes, it's the ordinary people who pay taxes to support the police. If a police officer had to buy their own patrol car, their own gun, and their own baton with their own money, and then what? They'd have to pay out of their own pocket to live next door to you just to protect you? Does that make any sense at all? This is exactly what the US is doing for the world right now, at least for a number of countries. Basically, these countries aren't paying any taxes, and the US is shouldering the cost to defend the whole world. In plain language, we'd call this volunteer work. America is basically acting as a volunteer international police force. So in this situation, when Trump wants to pull out, do you think he should or shouldn't? So how did Germany react? Because this decision was made after Merkel criticized Trump, everyone was waiting to see if Germany would respond. In the end, Germany's defense minister immediately stated that she wasn't surprised at all. She also said that Europe needs to take on more responsibility for its own security, and added that Germany has already announced its budget plan to build itself into the strongest military force in Europe within 14 years. Of course, that's a very ambitious statement. But, it's not that simple. So what's really going on? Let's talk about that next. Let's switch topics for a bit. Actually, this is today's biggest news. We all know that last August, on August 21st, the US and Europe reached a tariff agreement. Tariffs on European exports to the US were all set at 15%, while tariffs on American industrial exports to Europe were set at 0%. So this is just a framework agreement, not a formal agreement. It's more of a conceptual framework. Then in February this year, the US Supreme Court struck down Trump's universal tariffs, or what's also called reciprocal tariffs. So what happened as a result? Who ended up regretting it? Europe started to hold back and stop moving forward. So the Trump administration pushed several times, but nothing came of it, no results. Yesterday, Trump went straight to Twitter and said, "I am pleased to announce, based on the fact that the EU has failed to honor the trade agreement we had fully reached, that next week I will raise tariffs on cars and trucks imported from the EU into the United States." The tariffs will be raised to 25%, going from 15% to 25%. Both sides fully understand and agree that if they manufacture cars or trucks in American factories, then they won't have to pay any tariffs. Right now, several car and truck factories are under construction. What he means is that they're being built in the United States. The investment amount? It's over $100 billion. This is a record in the history of car and truck manufacturing. These factories, which will be run by American workers, are about to start operations. What's happening in America today is unprecedented. Thank you all for your attention to this matter. What does that mean? What does that mean? We need to interpret this. What Trump means is, first, the framework has already been set, and if you don't follow it, all right. Second, then I'll add another 10% tariff for you, raising it from 15% to 25%. Third, I want to bring German companies over to the United States. Okay, let's talk about how big of an impact this tweet had. The total value of EU car exports to the United States is between $60 and $70 billion. So who's the biggest among them? You could guess with your eyes closed. It's definitely Germany, right? Germany's export value to the United States is about $30 to $40 billion, which is more than half of the entire EU's exports to the US. Why is that? Everyone knows, because BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, they're all exported from Germany to the US, right? And they have a huge share of the luxury car market in the US, so this 25% tariff could mean that the cost of exporting EU cars to the US would go up by 25%. Sales could drop by 10% to 20%, and overall exports could lose more than $15 to $20 billion. So if this money falls on Germany, it would account for a percentage of Germany's GDP. The German auto industry, makes up 5 to 6% of Germany's GDP, employs over 800,000 people, and is the backbone of the German economy. Because of just one tweet from Trump, Germany's economic growth forecast for this year might be revised down by 0.3 to 0.8 percentage points. So the German auto industry immediately got anxious and started pressuring the government today, saying, "You can't let this happen. Are you trying to destroy our market in the US?" If the EU doesn't resolve the so-called tariff agreement with the US, then German luxury car manufacturers might really be forced to either lower their prices or move their operations to the US. So, as everyone knows, Germany's world-dominating luxury car industry is now facing three major predicaments. First, they've already lost the Chinese market, because after the Chinese Communist Party learned all the German automotive technology and surpassed them, they started developing their own low-cost cars with government subsidies. So basically, German cars have been pushed out of China. This is the first issue. Their own market is also being undercut by the CCP dumping cars, so internally, Germany's own automotive market is gradually being hollowed out by China. At the same time, Germany's high energy costs and strict industrial regulations have already led to large-scale layoffs at car factories, plant closures, and German automakers starting to move their factories to Eastern Europe since costs are lower there, lower costs and less regulation. So now, Slovakia has already become the contract manufacturing base for German brands. Plus, Hungary and the Czech Republic are all making cars for Germany. All these jobs have left Germany. That's the first thing, losing the Chinese market. Second, losing our own market due to CCP dumping, along with their own actions. Third, the most profitable market, the US, where BMW and Mercedes make their biggest profits. Now it's all being blown up by Trump's tweets. So the direct result is that German luxury car manufacturers will move to the United States. So what's happening now? This whole situation is causing Germany's economic growth to decline. And then expenses are rising sharply. Why? Because as we just reported to everyone, right? Germany says they want to turn themselves into Europe's military powerhouse. So basically, they have to pay for their own military expenses out of their own pockets, right? That's what it comes down to, isn't it? With falling auto profits, rising military spending, and persistent energy issues, there are major problems. Between industrial regulations and high immigrant welfare costs, improving the economy requires boosting revenue and cutting spending, the only two ways to fix it. Right now in Germany, when it comes to officials, it's more like less earning and more spending. You know, BMW and Mercedes-Benz. In the US market, their share accounts for a quarter of the total global profits of these two German companies. So it's really disproportionate. American consumers just prefer German luxury cars, so the profit margins are extremely high. If they were to lose this market, it would be a huge blow to car makers like BMW and Mercedes-Benz. So what should Germany do in this situation? You can't just put on a brave face and pretend everything's fine. Could you end up becoming the next Canada? Of course, as for this next Canada, the economic downturn has only just begun and will continue to get worse. This is truly a major problem facing America's traditional allies right now. I've thought about this episode for a long time, especially since I'm providing commentary. I wondered what advice I'd give Mosey and if I could offer anything useful. I think I can. Since I can't meet him, I'll share these ideas with you all first and see what you think. How does he see this issue? Actually, right now in Germany, if they really want to do something, there are two things they need to do immediately. The first is to decouple their economy from the Chinese Communist Party, and the second is to impose auto tariffs on China. This isn't really anything new, since Europe has been talking about this over and over again. It's because cheap Chinese cars like BYD and others are flooding into Germany and taking over the German market. You should have imposed tariffs a long time ago. The US has a 100% tariff. So countries like Canada that lower tariffs and let Chinese cars in, well, Germany and Europe are the same. They keep talking about it over and over, but never actually do anything. They're always hesitating, but time is not on your side. If you keep doing this, you'll just keep bleeding out. Just like how the American Midwest turned into the Rust Belt back in the 1990s and 2000s. Every month, you're just losing out. So you need to immediately start imposing tariffs on Chinese cars. That's the first thing. The second thing is you need to create a win-win situation with the US. At the very least, it can't be too unfair. But there's a trick to this, you know? And what is that trick? Let me explain this trick to everyone. Before we talk about the trick, let's first take a look at the current reality of the relationship between Germany and the United States. As you all know, Merz, the German chancellor, criticized Trump's Iran policy, very bluntly too. Why is that? Because from his perspective, it's about freedom of speech. He's always spoken this way, that's just how he talks. Is it really that excessive? How can you not let me speak? That's definitely how he feels, right? So what's the second fact? At a press conference, a reporter asked Trump, "What do you think about Merz and this whole situation?" Trump said, "We don't need them for the Iran conflict. When it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, they rely on it much more than we do. We barely depend on it at all. So we really don't need them. It doesn't really concern the United States. The only reason I'm inviting them is basically he means inviting them to form an international naval coalition, right? It's just to test them, to see how they'll respond. Their official stance is basically, we'll act a bit slower, but we're willing to participate." Those are Trump's original words. But if that's the case, then fine. However, their actual position is that they're not going to help us at all. So the test results show that, and as a result, we're not going to help them either. Now, the third point, this is a direct quote from Merz. "You attack Iran without consulting us. Since you didn't consult us, we're not going to participate in fundraising either. In other words, you started this with us." That's the current reality. So what do you all think about this? The positions of both sides are really quite different. I want to talk about a fundamental issue, which is an even bigger reality, right? That is, ever since Trump took office, the world has changed. At the very least, the United States has changed dramatically. How should I put this? There are three changes. First, in the United States, a group of civilian elites has come to power. Trump brought in the very best from America's economic and business sectors to run the government. So America's economic, military, and diplomatic strength are all rising rapidly. That's the first change. The second change is about this group of elites. At the head of this group is a businessman, Donald Trump. Trump follows the way of business. He doesn't talk to you about equality. He's holding a handful of good cards. You can see that Trump actually posted something. If you look, this is something he posted himself, though someone else probably made it. He posted it on Truth Social. "I have all the cards," right? When he met with Zelensky at the White House, it was basically saying, "You have no cards." Because what is the logic behind business? It's very simple, like Kodak's starting point, isn't it? So Trump follows the way of business. Why should I treat you as an equal when our strengths are different? Why should I treat you as an equal? Whether I attack Iran or not is my own business. I send my own troops, spend my own money, deploy my own warships and planes. Why should I have to discuss it with you? That's Trump's way of thinking, right? But what's Europe's attitude? Europe thinks you've always discussed things with us, the US has always consulted with us, right? We should be equals, we should respect each other. In other words, Europe has gotten used to the US respecting them in everything, ever since World War II. The world order after World War II was like a round table meeting where everyone was a knight of the round table and the US president was like King Arthur. No one was above anyone else, so what does that mean? At this post-World War II round table, all the countries of the world were equal. No one was bigger than anyone else, even though the US was far ahead globally, accounting for as much as 30% of the world's economy. Its voting power in the United Nations was the same as that of Nauru, that tiny island in the Pacific with only 21 square kilometers and a population of just 10,000. Their voting rights were exactly the same. Okay, so this was the political order after World War II. It was like the Knights of the Round Table, a round table meeting. But the system of the Knights of the Round Table wasn't bad, right? Because everyone was equal, building consensus, and when they acted together, they were incredibly powerful. But there's a prerequisite. You have to actually be a knight of the round table. What are the principles? Besides equality, I mean. Apart from equality, there's also loyalty, justice, honor and courage. Do you think the more than 200 countries in the world are really at that level? Can everyone really be loyal to each other? Can they show courage for the sake of justice, willing to do whatever it takes to uphold it? Is there really such a thing as honor among them? No, right? For the round table knights, for a round table meeting to work effectively, everyone has to be a knight, don't they? But what's the reality? It's full of petty, self-serving people, and even predators like wolves, tigers, and leopards, just like the Chinese Communist Party. So when all these kinds of people get in, how are you supposed to run a round table meeting? But the United States, even so, America is still strong. It's basically being generous at your own expense. So to keep this round table going, the knight himself steps down and becomes just one among many. So for 80 years, the US has maintained the world order, using its own resources to help the world rise up. That's truly selfless, but in the end, it's basically brought America to the brink of collapse. So now, no, the round table that these politicians maintained is gone. Then comes Trump, the businessman, and he just flips the table. So from now on, it's every country for itself, and we'll do things the business way. Trump's business philosophy is, I'm bigger than you, so I get to decide what I do. Right? Why should I have to ask you? Why do I need to consult with you? Because if I keep consulting with you, I'll always have to consult with you in the future. So China criticizes Trump, saying he's all about power politics. Well, it is power politics. And here's the trick I want to talk about. I want to share a tip with Moz. The way of business, isn't that also a kind of way? Of course it's a kind of way. If what we talked about earlier is called the right way, meaning the proper way in politics, then now we're talking about the way of business. Business is a lot like Trump, a man who acts on his own will. You likely remember the Korean series The Way of Business. It was a great show featuring two types of businessmen, good and bad. Trump is a good one. A good businessman has a specific trait. If you act with benevolence, I'll act with righteousness. If you don't, I won't. So I think the current world order has shifted from the way of virtue to the way of business. Politics has become business-oriented. In other words, the political relationships between countries are now more humanized, not as cold and ruthless as they used to be. In reality, things are more humanized now. If you treat others well, they'll treat you with righteousness. At least that's how Trump operates. So everyone, remember, what was it called again back in the day? Back in the day, there was that terrorist attack in Libya. Those two terrorists who blew up the plane. Later, they were caught by American intelligence agencies. The US military forced the plane, which originally took off from Egypt and was supposed to fly to Palestine, to land in Italy. Then, the US military stationed in Italy went over and surrounded the plane to arrest the suspects. But the Italians felt this violated their national sovereignty, so the Italian police surrounded the US troops, forming a standoff between the two sides. So what was the final outcome? In the end, Reagan, this was during the Reagan era, Reagan later withdrew the US troops. Once the US troops withdrew, they just dropped the whole thing, okay? They didn't take those two people away. That's how Reagan, the so-called Round Table Knight, King Arthur Reagan, handled it. What would have happened if this had been under Trump? Trump definitely would have taken them away and then turned around and fallen out with Italy. But at that time, Reagan respected Italy, even though what the US was doing made sense since they were arresting terrorists. So what I mean is, Reagan followed a traditional kind of political order. No matter what happened between countries, no matter how you provoked me, I would still treat you as an equal. But Trump isn't like that. If you treat me badly, I'll treat you badly in return. On the other hand, if you treat me well, I'll treat you even better. I think this is something that world leaders today just don't get. Or maybe they just can't wrap their heads around it. So that's why he's now trying to form this new so-called escort alliance, right? For example, Lithuania has already said, I'll join. That's really adapting to the situation. If Taiwan could also join, that would be the best possible win. Yeah, so now countries around the world have to face reality. You have to show respect to the US and to Trump. Showing respect doesn't mean groveling. If you show respect, he'll actually take even better care of you. You know, that's just the way he operates, so you actually come out ahead. When you deal with Trump, you might lose a little face, but you gain real benefits. Because if you give him face, he'll make sure you get something substantial in return. That's because political relationships now have basically turned into more personal, business-like relationships. So, do you all agree with what I'm saying? So if you agree, give it a like. If you don't agree, feel free to share your different opinion. If you do agree, you can also leave a comment because we really need to analyze this situation. I think Musk probably feels pretty wronged about this too. He probably thinks, why can't I just speak my mind in a big interview like this? After I finish talking, you just flip the table and take away the ice, right? So the premise here is the old political order. The Knights of the Round Table, you're not bigger than us. America isn't bigger than us. If you want to attack Iran, you have to ask us first. But Trump said, none of that applies anymore. I don't want any of your old rules, okay? And why could Trump do that? Because America's strength is right there for everyone to see. All right, this is a really interesting topic, and we can discuss it more in the future. Okay, now let's talk about the US-Iran negotiations. What's going on with the US and Iran talking past each other? Right now, the US has imposed a port blockade on Iran in the Strait of Hormuz and has already turned back 45 ships. So what about Iran? Recently, they said they've made a new peace proposal and are making a major concession. What is this major concession? First, If the US lifts its blockade on Iranian ports, then Iran will lift its blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Second, the US and Israel must promise not to launch attacks against Iran. Third, discussions about nuclear weapons can take place only after both sides have established a certain level of mutual trust. That topic should be addressed last. So Iran gave this proposal to Pakistan, and Trump responded with two remarks. The first thing he said was, "We have great respect for Pakistan, including its prime minister and its army chief. But as for talking with Iran, a phone call will do. There's no need to go through you." In other words, Trump was saying, "Pakistan, I respect you, but I don't need you for this." Second, he said that this proposal is way off the mark, but don't throw it out right away. So let me share my thoughts here. The Iranian authorities are honestly completely out of touch with reality. They have no sense of what's really going on. The US sent troops precisely because you're developing nuclear weapons and blocking the strait. But what ended up happening? It inspired the US to counter-blockade you. And once the counter-blockade was in place, Trump suddenly realized he didn't even have to spend money on military expenses every day. Just cover the cost of diesel fuel, and that's it. In fact, with nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, they don't even need to spend money on diesel. Effortlessly, they can trap you. You're already cornered. So what conditions can you set? You want to deal as equals, demanding non-aggression, but they're attacking because you developed nukes. Now you're holding on to them while wanting a no-attack promise. It's a pipe dream. Iran's strategy is to stall, but that's not in their favor. With the US port blockade, dragging this out will only lead to their own destruction. So what Iran wants is for the other side to lift the blockade first, and only after that's done will they talk about nuclear weapons, and then keep dragging things out. Dragging out the nuclear weapons talks has always been Iran's usual tactic. So you could do this with previous US presidents, but can you do it with Trump? He's not a traditional politician. Trump is a businessman. He cares about results, and you can't fool him. Businessmen are sharp, right? So now Iran and the US are really just talking past each other. So how did Trump respond? Yesterday, outside the White House, Trump hinted to the media that, given the serious divisions among Iran's leadership, what they've put forward just doesn't have any real persuasive power. So Iran might never be able to resolve the war through negotiations. Trump said, well, I have two options. First, go in and bomb them to smithereens, maybe even wipe them out completely. Second, still try to reach an agreement. But these are all options for me. Trump said, I don't really want to choose the first one. From a humanitarian perspective, I don't want to do that, but it really is an option. At the same time, the US continues to tighten the so-called noose around Iran's neck. The State Department issued a statement saying that sanctions would be imposed on several entities involved in the trade of Iranian oil, petroleum products, and petrochemical products, including one individual and a shipping company. The target of these sanctions in China is Qingdao Haihe Oil Terminal, officially known as Qingdao Haihe Oil Terminal Company Limited. This company is headquartered in China and operates as an oil port operator. Since President Trump issued the ban, it has imported tens of millions of barrels of sanctioned Iranian crude oil, helping to channel billions of dollars to Iran. At the same time, sanctions were also imposed on Qingdao Haijiao Port Company Limited, its president Li Xinchuan, and several entities including Hong Kong-based companies. In addition, Iran charges tolls for ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the US says that companies paying these tolls will also become a primary target for US secondary sanctions. In other words, if you pay the toll, the US will sanction you again. Do you dare to pay? All right, the next piece of news is a lighter one. Trump recently joked that the US could wipe out Cuba immediately. On Friday, yesterday, Trump was in Palm Beach, Florida, which is the city where Mar-a-Lago is located. In Palm Beach, there's a club called the Foreign Club of the Palm Beach, also known as the Palm Beach Forum Club. It's a high-end, conservative private club in the area. Most of the members are local entrepreneurs, wealthy individuals, political donors, and a large number of Cuban Americans. So before the event, he greeted a former congresswoman named Danica at the venue and said, hey, he originally came from a place called Cuba. Hey, we can take care of it right away. He said Cuba has a lot of problems right now. Let's finish this matter first. I like to get things done, he kept saying. I want to settle the Cuba issue. Then he said, hey, on our way back from Iran, we'll just send our big Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier to Iran. No, to Cuba. Just have it stop 100 yards off the coastline. Cuba would just say, thank you, we surrender, we surrender. Ha ha, is this a joke? Well, actually, not really. Trump really wanted to do this. But would he really send the Lincoln over there? Of course not. Right now, what Trump is doing to Cuba and Iran is basically a siege strategy. But I want to emphasize in my commentary here, a siege takes time. It won't be as quick as Trump says. Trump always thinks that when your country is already in such a miserable state, as the leader, you should come to the negotiating table. But the problem is, these communist regimes, these cult-like regimes, they don't think the way he does. What he's thinking is that old saying, which is kind of funny, better my friend dies than me. No matter how many people starve, the dictator will never go hungry. So let me give you an example.